Hey everybody, welcome to the Legacy Universe. My name is Ash.
And my name is John.
And in today's video, we are going to be discussing the new Netflix film, The Devil All the Time. This film premiered on Netflix on Wednesday, September 16th. It has an ensemble cast, amazing actors, and it is based on the novel under the same name by Donald Ray Pollock. This film is a very awesome, dark, gritty, brutal film, and we were excited to see it. We had the opportunity to see it, and now we want to sit down and talk to you guys about it, give you guys our thoughts on everything from the plot to certain characters to certain scenes and everything that we liked, things that worked, things that didn't work for us. Hope that you guys enjoy this review. We are going to try to keep it as much spoiler free as we can because we really feel that this is a film that people should sit down and watch. And I wanted to ask you, when this film started, what were your initial thoughts on this film?
Crazy crap. Now this film, lately we've been missing a little bit of these films, and I think this, to some people, these films might not be digested properly because it's hard to watch when you see reality. Honestly, when you see the brutal reality of things, not just socially, but the physical aspect, and it's shown, some people think it's not necessary. Yes, I think to a certain extent, there are some things that are not necessary to be shown. I don't say in particular in this film. When it started, it actually felt very, it in the first few minutes, it felt warm because you still felt that the protagonist, which is played by, I think it was Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård. He, for those who don't know, he actually is the clown of It. He's Pennywise. We start off with him coming from the war, and we see in a moment, like in a minute, how brutal war can be. But then we see him come home to try and start a family, and you get the sense of, okay, this film, is kind of, I know what this film is gonna come to, but I think it's preparing us to feel some sort of way and to feel for the characters. Because some people might say they didn't felt anything with the characters because it might have been cut in different ways where it might have been too soon for some people. I honestly don't think that was the case because it was cut. Maybe a very small smidge, but honestly, I truly liked the way it was put together. And there could have been different ideas that could have actually made it even better.
Honestly, the thing about this film,
it is disturbing sometimes.
Yeah, we loved this film, but I remember when we ended this film, I told you, I was like, there's gonna be so many people that are gonna hate this film because it's a film that not only propels you to pay attention to every single detail, because if you miss something, you're probably gonna be lost with the plot per se, but it's a film that it's very disturbing and it makes you feel uncomfortable from the moment that you start the film.
Yeah.
I had heard about this project, I would say, in the midst of like Tom Holland filming Spider-Man Far From Home, because I think he filmed Far From Home and then he went on to film this film. So I had known about this film for quite some time, and I was very excited because of the cast. I was excited because also, if you guys don't know, Jake Gyllenhaal and Reba Marker are producers in this film through their company 9 Stories, and Jake Gyllenhaal actually played Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home as well. So that's something that's really, really cool, and it was one of the things that actually drew me to see this film. But I remember when I saw the trailer for the first time, we saw it and it was, you could feel the creepiness of this film. Like it's a movie that gets under your skin.
I was excited for it.
And I was excited for it too.
Another thing that actually was very different in this movie, again, the timelines, how they were used, because you actually follow probably about 5 different characters in this story.
Yeah, because the interesting thing that this film did that it's one of the reasons why I liked it so much was that in the first part you get the story of the parents, and then in the second part it's the story of their children and how their actions are still brought on to their family even though they're not alive anymore. I thought that was something that was really different from other films that I have seen, because I would have probably have not expected, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just something that I did not expect to see when we were watching the plot unfold. I thought it was going to be a very linear story about like, oh, you know, this is my father, and I really thought they were gonna mix the war flashbacks with Tom Holland's character, and that's what they were gonna pull from. But it was a completely different setting, or approach towards how they wanted to develop the plot in this film.
Yeah. Another thing that you got to keep in mind is that this was based on Ohio. Like, this movie was filmed like a fictional town in Ohio.
Yeah.
But it actually followed a little bit of the what do you call it? How people were in that town. Like, this town where they were raised, they were very hard on religion, on Christianity, and they were so into this religion that they even went overboard with it a lot of the times.
It was a recurring theme that went on to the film, that sometimes it starts that way. Like, a character does something probably against what God wants in their mind, and then God punishes them, so then they start doing other stuff, and then you as a viewer, you start to think that the actions that the characters are taking, if something else happens, you're like, wow, maybe God is punishing this character because they did this and that they weren't supposed to do that, which is it's interesting, man.
It will put you in a position where you can literally see how some people can take religion too far. This is very, for those who have played this game, this is, and you can actually watch us play it in our YouTube channel.
I'll put an episode here.
Yeah, it is from Outlast 2.
It has the same tone.
If you go and watch this film, or you have played Outlast 2, you will literally put it together.
I think that's why we enjoyed this film so much, because we already had the opportunity to play Outlast 2, and Outlast 2 is a bit more brutal than this film. It's a bit more graphic. So when the movie started and you looked at me, you were like, this is Outlast 2.
Yeah.
And I was like,
because it's
oh!
Outlast 2 is brutal like 95% of the time. This movie,
half and half, I would say.
Yeah, I would say a little bit less.
Something that this film does very well is that it shows, I think, a misconception of what faith can be. Like, in the way of, like, some people tend to connect their ideas of what faith is supposed to be with, like, sacrifice or making people pray, or like you have to go to church. Forcing. Like, it's a very it's a dwelling topic that it's basically the basis of this film, and I think that everybody that was involved in this film did a very good job in depicting that.
Because it is, and it's not controversial. It's like both.
There's some things that are controversial that are like, things that I mentioned, but then there's other things that happen on a daily basis that we know of.
You can literally see the 3 different types of beliefs in the higher power. There's different types of beliefs in a higher power. And you can see that with Tom Holland. You can see that with Robert Pattinson's character. You can see that with Tom's character's family, with his father, his grandmother. Yeah, you can see that with everybody. Jumping into the performances.
Yeah, speaking of Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland.
Yo.
I want to say, I want to.
That scene.
I want to talk about the performances in general, because of course we are going to talk about Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson, because they truly are a masterclass in this film. especially Robert Pattinson. Especially Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
But I will say that this film is worth it for the performances. It has a great group of actors, and everybody does their job really well. Even some of the extras that are in the film that have certain things to do.
I don't think there was any bad acting at all whatsoever in this film.
I wanted to talk about Tom Holland because we're huge Tom Holland fans. We love Spider-Man, but I think that he's been pinned into the Spider-Man thing unfairly so, because some people just see him as Spider-Man and Peter Parker and they associate him with that, and it's like, oh, he's never gonna do anything else. Truly disagree, because Tom Holland has done other films before Spider-Man. Like, he has a film with Naomi Watts, which is The Impossible, and he has a great performance in that. He actually did a film with Chris Hemsworth before he was in the MCU.
It's the same thing that they did with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, which is great. And I was really excited to see him in this film because I knew that it was going to be a whole completely different character. It was going to be something very different from Spider-Man / Peter Parker. And I really have to say, guys, that he kills it in this film. He kills it in this film. It's a very dark performance. Yeah. It was disturbing because he's such a nice guy. And to see him in this film being so ruthless, and there's a great scene where he beats the crap out of these bullies that are bothering his stepsister, and it's like a parallel of something that his father did and taught him as a kid, which was used amazingly in that way. This movie actually has me even more excited for Cherry. That's another film that he did with Anthony and Joe Russo. Anthony and Joe Russo are the directors of the Avengers movies, and they made this film with Tom Holland called Cherry that I think he is a soldier that comes back from war. He's dealing with PTSD. Yeah. And there's a lot of buzz with that performance. And if you guys want a taste of what we might get for that film, you need to see this film. Yeah. You need to see this film. It has me very excited for his transition into more mature roles, more sure. More deeper roles.
Now, jumping into Robert Pattinson. This man is freaking amazing. He's incredible. He's an amazing actor. And the fact that he was able to have the go-nuts, to not say another word, to actually separate himself from Twilight, even if it cost him, the trend, the popularity, and all that kind of stuff. Because honestly, I would have done the same thing. And there's been moments where I felt the same way in certain areas of my life. It's not all about that. Like, you have to have love for the art. And this character, honestly, surprised me so much, because it is the one character that I believe, besides another one that I really want to watch, which is a movie called The Lighthouse, I think it is, with William Dafoe. This one is the one role, aside from the others that I've seen, that truly separated Pattinson from his other roles completely. Because, first off, his personality, his accent, and his purpose, it was mind-blowing.
I love it when I see films and I know that's the actor that's playing the part, but I don't see the actor.
Yes.
I am seeing this character coming to life, and that's something that Robert Pattinson did awesomely well. Yeah. I would not be surprised if both Pattinson and Holland might get a nomination somewhere there.
But there was a particular scene, just to move on from this, there's a particular scene that you will actually see the true prowess of his potential, of his acting chops.
There's two scenes, actually.
But one in particular, which is our favorite, is in the church with Tom Holland. This is the most powerful one, and I really don't think, and I don't want to downgrade the everything else, but I don't think you, in this entire movie, you get to another scene this tense.
The thing about the film is that it builds up to this moment so well.
Yes.
And when it happens, it pays off so good, because it's an excellent scene from the moment that Tom Holland enters the church up until what happens. The other scene, apart from the church scene that we really like, is a monologue that Robert Pattinson's character gives during Sunday service. It's a really, 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 really great scene. It parallels with something else in the film that it ties it up beautifully. And
there's so much symbolism. There's so much hypocrisy. There's so much of everything. There's so much of, yin and yang and cause and effect in this movie that that's why I love it so much, because there's actually repercussions for every single thing that you do, whether you're a good person or a bad person. There is repercussions. It doesn't matter. And you can tell that the only person in this film that actually tries to do things like be away from all of this because he's seen so much crap is Arvin, is the Tom Holland's character.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this film is fantastic, and this particular scene keeps showing, and the entire movie after this keeps showing like cause and effect, honestly.
Another thing that we really liked about the film was the fact that it has a narrator, and the narrator is actually the author of the novel, which is Donald Ray Pollock. And we really liked it because it made us feel that we were reading a book. With all of those awesome things being said, there were some things that didn't work for us, but it's very minimal compared to all of the great things that this film has.
Yeah.
I would say the first thing, there is a problem with the pace of this film, and I believe, and we've had this discussion before, it's after the scene that Lee, played by Sebastian Stan, goes to his sister's, he goes to visit his sister at a motel, and his sister is Sandy. She is in a relationship with Carl, but they have a really weird serial killer dynamic thing. After this scene, we get like more scenes with Carl and Sandy, but I feel that it was a batch that didn't work for me necessarily. It didn't work for us, and it's a moment in the film where they really lost us. Like it completely disconnected the film that we were watching before. And it's not to say that it wasn't doing its job of like exposition, but like the thing is that we do see Carl and Sandy do what they do in this film previously, and we see them with a victim, and we see Sandy having this guilt and wanting to get out of this life. So there was no need for, in our opinion, to add another batch where they're just doing like their serial killer thing and she wants to leave him, and then they show a really grotesque scene that I think it wasn't necessary. So I think personally, if that scene would have been cut completely and we would have jumped from that scene to going back to what's happening with Robert Pattinson's character, I feel like the movie would have flowed even better than what it did.
What I feel like is, I don't think they were needed at all. I don't feel like they were needed at all.
We talked
like
about
these characters were not needed at all. I know that they were trying to actually put more consequences and more cause and effects to everything that's going on in that town, but I don't think they were needed at all. I get that it ultimately led to a connection with Arvin and the cop, because the cop, at one point actually saves Arvin from something that happens, we won't say, which is Sebastian Stan's character. But because it was already there, I think, yes, you feel like they weren't needed, but how they did it, I actually think, and I thought about it, I actually think it needed to stay the way it was, because then you would hear the complaints of, but if you show these characters, they disappear and they never show again all the way till the end.
The thing is that it just feels like it goes into a double exposition. Like, I already know what they do. They already did it to a character at the beginning of the film. I don't think I need another batch of them redoing the things that they did, because I already understand what their purpose is, and I already understand that how they're tied to Lee's character, and I understand that if this was cut and you brought them back for their connection with Arvin, it would have still worked, and it would have flowed a little bit better, because the thing about this movie is that it has a very nice build up with the timelines and all this. Like it keeps building up, and then it gets to that point and it falls flat, and then it starts again to build up and build up and build up and build up and build up. So that's a problem that I had with this film. Also, that pertains to the duration of this film. This film is 2 hours and 18 minutes. So it
could have been.
It's a long film.
Yeah.
If you would have cut that batch a little bit,
it could have been like maybe 20 minutes cut.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
and it still would have been even better probably.
Yeah, and that's another thing to have in mind. This movie is long. Now, due to this, I was having a discussion with John that I really think that, not that this film is not great, I think it would have kicked ass if it was a mini series.
Yep.
By Netflix, because I really liked the timelines presented, and I feel that I still have so many questions with Arvin and Lenora's parents, their timeline, and then going into, because I feel that the second act of the film, where we see Arvin and Lenora as adults and what they go through, is explored more than their parents' timeline
history.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's something that in the novel is done, because we haven't read the novel, but I feel that it would have been awesome if this was like a mini series, and then part 1 was basically Arvin's parents and Lenora's parents, and then we get to see a little bit more of Willard in the war. We get to see his relationship with Charlotte. We never know if his relationship with his mother was tarnished, because his mother didn't want him to be with Charlotte. She wanted him to be with Helen, who is Lenora's mother. So I think that's something that, if this was done in 2 parts, it could have been explored really, really, really well.
I am so interested, and I was so invested on knowing more about these characters that I really wanted it to be, as you said, a miniseries. It could have been like easily like 4 to 5 episodes of every single moment or timeline, where you can give an hour to his parents, you can give an hour to maybe the high school as they grow, to an hour of the priest, and an hour of the cop, and an hour of something else, and it would have been like,
oh my gosh, this miniseries is gonna win so many awards.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because it's just a very interesting story how the story of their parents parallel with what the children are going through, even though they are not with them in the second act. And so I would have liked to see, I don't know, I just have a lot of unanswered questions.
It's amazing.
Maybe, but this is why I want to say that this does not take away how amazing this film is.
Yeah.
And I would love to see it again, because I feel that this is the type of film
to watch one
that you have to see it again, or that maybe you'll see it a second time and you'll discover something new, or you'll have a deeper understanding of the characters, a deeper perspective on the themes and symbolisms, because they are many. This is that type of movie that people will probably sit down and discuss, like, you know, like Donnie Darko and all of these films that people sit down and they just write and write, like, this symbolizes this, and I think that's what we loved so much about this film, and why this film was amazing.
Just to reiterate on what you said about the parents, this is exactly a mirror of what can happen based on how you were raised.
Yep.
And you can see this throughout the entire film. And I believe this was a great and a very important factor to actually how the story is driven.
Yep.
Because if it wasn't because of where they were raised and how they were raised, I think certain factors would have ended in a completely different way, because it is very carefully well thought out. Where it is, I can truly understand what's going on. I know the time that you gave these characters for us to understand who they are, where they will go, how they grew up, and why they're doing what they're doing in the future, because something happened in the past.
And what Arvin symbolizes by the end of the film.
Oh my gosh,
fantastic.
Let me give you, I'm not going to spoil you, but I'm going to give you a hint.
His character is a fantastic
His
symbolism.
character, and you can take this, either it's a symbolism or it's a reality or a metaphor, but Arvin is the one that kills all the demons.
Yeah.
All his demons. Like all his demons.
Yeah.
So, yes, guys, you gotta
I
pay
gotta say
attention to
one
this.
last thing. You know that as we're talking, I'm thinking about Nocturnal Animals. Do you remember that film?
Oh my god, I've seen it with you. I forgot
At
about
the finale,
it.
she's at the restaurant and there's this debate.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
I feel like we were talking about this film and I'm like, this really feels like Nocturnal Animals, which is a really, really underrated film, by the way.
Well,
that's gonna be all that we got for you guys. We hope that you enjoyed this discussion of The Devil All the Time. Definitely check out this film if you have not. It's a great film. Incredible performances by everybody in this cast, and it's disturbing, it's raw, it's brutal, but oh my god, it's gonna get you talking, it's gonna get you having a conversation, and at the end of the day, that's what movies are supposed to do.
Yes.
Have that in mind. That's what movies are
Exactly.
supposed to do. Have a conversation about it. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So
If you guys want to follow us on social media, we have our Instagram. You can follow us at The Legacy Universe. Same with our Facebook, is The Legacy Universe. We post every single video that we do on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for those who, have different types of ways of reaching us, or what's your favorite social media platform, Sorry. We also keep doing videos of games, other discussions of TV shows, of TV trailers, movies, and the gameplay that I always have, mobile games, and PlayStation. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. It really, really helps us out to give you more content. It really helps us out as content creators. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Dije tanto revolú ahí, tanta... Yo no sé ni qué.